1, 2, 3, Cancun. We have three games left in the season as the Chicago Bears will wind down the 2024 campaign as they host the Detroit Lions on the lakefront on Sunday. We'll have your game preview coming up. In basketball, the Bulls do something that we didn't think they would do. They beat the Boston Celtics in B-Town. Yay! The Chicago Blackhawks honor a Hockey Hall of Fame legend, and the Chicago Cubs, Sammy Sosa and Tom Ricketts make men's. We'll give you the details. And tonight is Lakina's special night. We have the kickoff to the college football 12-team playoff. Yay! That and a whole lot more on this hashtag Football Friday edition of Second City Sports, which starts right now. Welcome to another fun-filled hashtag Football Friday edition of Second City Sports. You're live in the living color right here on Sports Soul Chicago, along with Miss Lakina McGee, which is she. I am Cindy Brown. You know that's me. You can follow yours truly on the Twitter, X, and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, it's SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80.
You can follow my Lakina McGee on the Twitter, X, and the IG.
Be sure to download the Sports Zone Chicago app wherever you get your apps. Please follow Sports Zone Chicago on all social media platforms on Facebook, Twitter, X, Instagram, and YouTube. Please subscribe to our podcast. We are located at War Media Podcast. That's WARR Media, PODCASTS. We are on all podcast platforms, including at that iHeartRadio app. And while you're at it, please give War Media a follow at WARR Media on all social media platforms. That's Facebook, Twitter, X, Instagram, and YouTube. And thank you very much in advance for your support.
Like, share, subscribe, and tell your friends.
We are unapologetically fun, and we have very definite opinions. If you have any definite opinion, do know our 2-hour extravaganza we call the Sports Talk Radio Show. You can hit us up at Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or at Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. Type in those questions or comments in the comment section. Lakina will get them up on the screen for you. But if you decide to troll and/or do something silly, dumb, or stupid, I've given Lakina full powers to give you fools to be able to be a boot.
Toodles.
Just a reminder, whether you're watching us on Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or at Sports Zone Chicago's YouTube page, live or on the replay, shout out to the replay gang. We are always here for you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, live and on demand. And you know we will provide.
And we got a loaded show for you coming up. I know it's a little snowy outside in some parts of the country, but we're going to try to keep it warm and fun here on Second City Sports. Of course, we got our buddy Fox 2's sports director and Alliance play-by-play guy Dan Miller back with us to preview Bears and Lions coming up at Soldier Field on Sunday. Of course, we got another one of our buddies, Mr. Mick Gillespie from the Chicago Baseball Podcast on YouTube. He'll join us to talk about something we're going to talk about in just a second. Also, too, we're going to preview the college football playoff, which starts tonight. So can't wait to talk to him about that as well. Some of the other bowl matchups coming up later on this month. But first, of course, the Bears and Vikings. We'll keep it short and sweet here because, like I said, I didn't watch a single moment of Monday night game yesterday on Monday. So we'll keep it short and sweet. I mean, if you heard DJ Moore's comments yesterday, you kind of wonder that are some Bears and some of the players they're kind of having that same mindset too, that they're already thinking about vacation. They got 3 more games left. So, again, Minnesota took care of business. The Bears were at best. And you thought that maybe there would be a little bit of an effort, but there wasn't. Like I said, I watched the other Monday night game between the Falcons and the Raiders. We'll get to the implications of that, after this break, because we're going to be doing our picks at the bottom. But yeah, that's all I really, want to say about that Bears Vikings, Monday nighter. It was just, 30-12. That basically kind of covers it, and that's about all I have to say about that game.
Lakina, what's the matter with you? You missed a whole lot, as the great Mike Murphy would say. Missed a little, missed a lot. You missed the Bears defense creating 2 sacks. You miss the offensive line being a revolving office, downtown office building revolving door on Caleb Williams. You missed that. You missed DeAndre Swift
Darn.
19 carries for 79 yards. He actually looked great, Lakina. I
Darn.
guess that's Thomas Brown calling right now. Lakina, you also missed Keenan Allen, 6 catches with 82 yards and a touchdown. You missed it.
Oh,
What's the
darn
matter
it.
with you? The
Darn
Bears
it.
didn't quit. The Bears didn't quit. They just ran up
Oh.
against a better Minnesota Vikings team that were more motivated. You know also what you missed? You missed Tyson Bagent going 1-for-1 for 5 yards.
Yay.
What's the matter with you? The Bears are not that bad. They just ran to a better team. Ugh. At this point, Lakina, they are a laughing stock and rightfully so. And like you said, we'll get into the preview with Dan Miller coming up next hour later on in the show from the Detroit side of things. But if you're a Bears fan, Bears observer, and we had to cover this stuff and follow it just like you guys do. The way that they've been playing ever since they got Eberflus and Shane Waldron out of here, they got what they deserved. As we said a couple of shows ago, they got what they deserved. Well, this is what you wanted, and this is how you reward yourselves and the fans. It's just ridiculous.
I mean, it's just, I mean, the weather for Sunday, I mean, yeah, I will be probably watching other games on Red Zone. I'll probably keep my eye on this one because unfortunately, because the Bears, put in that blackout rule. I know, right? It's supposed to be, I mean, it's supposed to be 34 degrees, so it won't be too cold. It's basically
semi-bear weather, yay!
Yeah, so it's somewhat bear weather, but yeah, so we'll see what happens. And like I said, we'll go deep into it with Dan coming up at the top. But let's go to one of the other big news that kind of came down the pike yesterday. Sammy, kind of around this time, Sammy Sosa, of course, former Cubs outfielder, who was kind of shunned after the court bat and such. Well, he admitted in a statement yesterday that without really admitting it, he admitted without really admitting it about his steroid use that was long suspected. And of course, he sent a letter to the Ricketts family, in particular Tom Ricketts, and he put out a statement saying that he is going to be invited to the Cubs convention if Sammy wants to. So like I said, we'll get to this with Mick Gillespie coming up later on the show. But it just seems like it was sort of kind of weird how all that kind of came out. It kind of came out of nowhere. So to me, I was really like, whatever. Like, because a lot of other players did. McGuire did it. Bonds did it. He hasn't admitted it either, and other guys did it during that era. So it's just like I'm kind of over it. Was it really more to stoke, Ricketts's ego or whatever? But I just think the whole thing just seems a little silly. What do you think?
I kind of agreement with you on that. Sammy Sosa went the late Pete Rose now 2.0. I did something like Jason Jeremy. Remember when he signed with the Yankees? He got that 2000 AL MVP, which should have been Frank Thomas's, but I digress. I did something wrong, but I can't say anything about it. You know what I mean? I admit to something, but I'm not going to come clean. That's what that was. And that Tom Ricketts and the Ricketts family has stood firm on not being associated with Sammy Sosa for a long time. This is what it comes down to, Lakina. I'm not going to sit here and say the Cubs convention are that's an event that's struggling to get fans in there, because whether it's 18 degrees outside or whether it's a foot of snow outside, every mid-January, Cubs fans are going to fly down to downtown Chicago to attend that event. So let's not act like that Cubs convention is going to lack fans for not coming. They fill that place up every year, wherever hotel they have it in. But that Sammy Sosa is going to be at the Cubs convention. We all know this next month. Here's the thing, and it's probably an answer of no, but I'm going to just throw it out there anyway. Will Sammy Sosa will have a job with the Cubs? Will he be some sort of team ambassador? We know he's not a broadcaster. I know that. No, I know that for a fact. Unless he's doing something we don't know. But will they? And number two, will he be an ambassador? And number two, will he have his number 21 jersey retired at some point? Because all this is not being done for no reason. And I'm sure this goes deeper than just inviting him to some fan convention next month.
Yeah, I'm sure they've already like talked about some stuff, like I said, maybe an
Hmm.
ambassador role, or maybe they'll honor him with maybe I don't know a statue. I think is out of the question. We'll dive into this with Mick later on. But yeah, I mean, is it going to be an ambassador role? Or they can have a day for him or something. They wouldn't be doing this, especially now when it's almost Christmas time. They've probably been talking
Hmm.
about it for a while now, and I think they might have actually finally had got an agreement on something. And yeah, we'll wait and see. But yeah, he's not doing this, just for nothing. Like, I'm sure he's gonna get a little bit of a fee. They're gonna cut him a check, and I don't know if he's gonna get into the Hall of Fame, but I think there's more to this. I feel like.
Yeah, let's also note this as well. Many Cubs fans that wanted the organization to welcome back Sammy Sosa for a long time. You saw what they did with Kerry Wood and some other players that they weren't as famous nationally, but they were famous among the fan base. That they invited them back to Cubs convention for years. Like as I mentioned, Kerry Wood, Ryan Dempster, Rick Sutcliffe, and Andre Dawson and some of those other names among the Cubs organization. They're their fan favorites, but fans been clamoring for Sammy Sosa to get back into the Cubs family for a long time. The Ricketts have been the roadblock for that for all this time, and now it seems like things are coming to a peaceful end. But like you said, Lakina, outside of him being invited to the Cubs convention next month, something else is on the table. Maybe a couple things are on the table as well. We just don't know what it is yet.
All right, going to be very interesting. Like I said, we'll dive deeper in this with Mick Gillespie coming up in about an hour from now. But first, we got a really busy second half hour for this show coming up. We're gonna do our Week 16 NFL picks. Of course, the Bulls did something that we didn't think they were gonna do, and something they haven't done since March. Win 3 in a row, and they beat Boston in Boston. Go figure. And also, too, the Hawks will have also did something they haven't done. They got their first 3-game winning streak as well. And in front of a Hall of Fame, we'll get to that too, and a whole lot more, and a little bit college hoops too, time permitting. Lakina McGee, Cindy Brown, Second City Sports on Sports Zone Chicago. We go to the hardwood and the ice coming up right after this.
This year, my mom got me the perfect bag for back to school.
These colorful binders help me stay organized.
These headphones are just what I need for studying.
These new sneakers are just what I needed for the new year.
This jacket is a real must-have.
My parents got me the skateboard I wanted. It's pretty cool.
These scissors really come in handy in art class.
These colored pencils, too.
These new socks, they can be a real lifesaver. I finally got my own phone to stay in touch with my mom.
Trisha's having a sleepover tonight. Can I go?
I wonder about Lucy's friends. What should I say? I know you're only 10, but one of these days a friend will offer you a drink. And alcohol at your age can lead to so many things. None of them good.
So can I go to the sleepover?
Lucy, I want you to promise me
I
something.
finished my homework.
Bigger promise. If there's any drinking, I want you to say, "No thanks, not my thing."
Mom.
I promise you. Your real friends won't care. Deal?
Sure.
Really?
I promise, Mom.
They really do hear you.
Did you pack your toothbrush?
For tips on how to start the talk, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov, a public service message from the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration.
Hey, this is Dr. J, and I listen to Sean and Maya in the morning.
Welcome back to Second City Sports on the hashtag Football Friday edition. You're live in the living color right here on Sports Zone Chicago. I'm Sid Deslikina. You can follow yours truly on the Twitter, X, and the IG at CKid80. Once again, it's CKid80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80.
You can follow my Kingdom McGee on the Twitter, execute again, IG.
We have less than 90 minutes left of this extravaganza we call a sports talk radio show. If you have any questions or comments for us as we get into our NFL picks, Bulls and NBA and Blackhawks talk, you can hit us up at Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or at Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. Type in those questions or comments to the comment section. Lakino will get them up on the screen for you.
Okay, real quick, Sid. Of course, a really solid game over the AFC West last night, I should say, between the Broncos and the Chargers. You got a fair catch, field goal kick for the first time since 1976. And, the Chargers bounced back from that loss to the Bucs, and they were able to pull it out against the Broncos. And look, Justin Herbert did his thing, it's kind of interesting because, the Chargers are in the driver's seat again, that wild card spot, 34 27, I should say. With that, it was, Gus Edwards had a couple of big runs for the Chargers, to help, set up that game winning TD there, two rushing TDs, 284 yards and 2 TDs for Mr. Herbert, and 260 yards and 2 TDs for Bo Nix. But it was really the Chargers that pulled the big plays late.
And also to give Chargers defense some credit too, they shut down the Broncos in that second half, eliminated the Broncos to 6 total points. Lad McConkey, he's only their big play guy for the San Diego Chargers, all Los Angeles, we call him on this show. He had 6 catches for 87 yards last night. Don't forget about Quentin Johnson. He's the other big target as well. The Chargers did what they had to do. They were more physical, more running the ball at the point of attack like they did last night. They failed to do that the previous 2 games. They were physical with the Broncos last night, and that's why they came out with the win.
Yeah, 9-6. The Chargers are. Both teams are actually now 9-6. We got the Chargers are more in the driver's seat than the Broncos are now. Going to our picks, of course, we got our girl Christy Mann from KXRB. We got her picks right here, so we got you guys covered there.
What is standings?
Yes, she and I are actually were tied for perfect. For 15 for 15. Said you had 13. Unfortunately, it was the Jags game. I think there was another game too that you missed, but let's see here. You're down. There's like a 5-game difference between the 3 of us. I'm up by 1 over Christine, and you're about 5 back. So still a lot to digest and be decided here in the last 3 weeks.
All right.
So so a lot could happen these next 3 weeks. Now coming up tomorrow, couple of Saturday games. The first game will be on NBC. You got the Texans and the Chiefs, and incidentally, of course, we know that it looks like Hollywood Brown has finally been cleared to play. He'll make his debut tomorrow over Arrowhead against the Texans. I think if the Texans were a little bit healthy, I probably would pick them for the upset, but I'm picking Kansas City because, like I said, the Texans, I really don't know what we're going to get from them. And also, Christine feels the same way. She also picked the Chiefs.
It's going to come down to the running game of both these teams. Despite Patrick Mahomes' injury, the Chiefs' defense has been just about stellar all year. They're at home. I'm going with the Chiefs. Kansas City is currently favored by 3.5.
All right. Okay. Could be an interesting one down there. Now, here in the AFC North, we know what happened in the first meeting. The Steelers handled the Ravens. Now, this time the Ravens will try to get their revenge, hosting them in Baltimore. Now, I think for me, it's really going to come down to which offense are we going to get from the Steelers? Are we getting the Steelers that we saw in that game against the Ravens, or are we going to get the Steelers team, the offense that we saw against the Eagles? So, the Ravens have been able to they've been Jekyll and Hyde on the offensive side, and also the defensive side too. So it's going to be interesting. But like I said, I might regret this later, but I'm picking Baltimore just because I think if if they want to try to get a shot at pressing outside shot of the number one seed and even win the division. I'm picking Baltimore, and Christine is also picking Baltimore, but it should be a good one over there in Baltimore between them and the Steelers.
This will be a physical game, and let's not forget too about the Steelers. Their struggles on offense last week at Philadelphia. George Pickens did not play, their stud wide receiver. I don't know if he's going to play tomorrow or not, but it may matter. But the Ravens have it going on offense right now, so I think they keep it going at home. I'm picking Baltimore. They're favored by 6.5.
Yeah, I think Pickens is going to be out. So is Justin Fields. I think I saw some place where T.J. Watt's still struggling with that ankle, so that could be something to look out for as well. Now going into the new matchups, you got the Giants and the Falcons. Now, Raheem Morris took the took the hook off of Kirk Cousins after that not so good performance against the Raiders. So now it's the Michael Penix Jr. show. Sid, you start this one.
I think our girl Christine the Queen Manica will be happy for this one. The Falcons are currently favored by 8.5 points at home. You would think that Michael Penix Jr. will give that Falcons offense the spark that they need. I don't know if it's going to be enough for what they hope for, but they'll be just enough. The Giants are terrible. They quit on Coach Brian Daboll. The Falcons will win this one. I don't know if it's going to be by going away, but they'll win this one to barely hang in that playoff race.
Yeah, Penix time, as Christine says, so she's got Atlanta. I'm also picking Atlanta too. The Giants are pretty much quitting on the season, and I think they can do just the Falcons will do just enough to win this game. I think so. We'll see what happens here. You've got the Cardinals and the Panthers next up. Listen, I'll say this. I think the Panthers will cover, but I think the Cardinals will win because the Cardinals know that they have to basically keep winning to keep up in the NFC West standings.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's going to be a little bit cooler, probably something that Kyler Murray's not used to. But like, dude, you played in Big 12 country, so it's not like it was so cow weather most of the time around this time. But yeah, the Arizona will do just enough, but I think the Panthers will cover.
Arizona is currently favored by 5 points on the road. The temperature will be 41 degrees and sunny on Sunday. I have Arizona.
And Christine also has Arizona as well. Next up on the docket, you've got the Titans and the Colts. The Colts kind of let it slip away literally against the Broncos. So, but the Titans, oh God, they're 3-11. I'm picking Indy because I think, look, there's no reason why Indy should not win this game and stay within striking distance that last playoff spot. So I'm picking Indy.
Yeah, Will Levis stinks. Everybody on the Titans stink, and I'm going with the Colts as well. They're currently favored by 3.5 at home.
Christine also has Indy. So, Sid, while I'm getting this going here, you do the next game, please.
The Cincinnati Bengals will host the Cleveland Clowns, the Browns at Cincinnati on Sunday. Cincinnati is favored by 9 points. Cincinnati is they're 1-5 at home. They're 6-8 overall. The Cleveland Browns are terrible, 3-11 overall, 1-6 away from Cleveland Browns Stadium. Joe Burrow's having an amazing year, 36 touchdowns, 8 interceptions, but because of the Bengals' record, he's not going to compete for the MVP award. It looks like the Bengals have found a running game in Chase Brown. Jamar Chase, the stud wide receiver, is having a tremendous year with over 102 catches and 15 receiving touchdowns. You take the Bengals because they're at home, and you take the points. I'm going with Cincinnati.
Just want to do a quick change. Christine actually has the Titans with a question mark, so she might. We'll see if she regrets that. But yeah. Oh, incidentally, our buddy Spiro Diaz will have the call of that Browns Bengals game on CBS. I mean, it'll be interesting to see. Cincy, look, they still got an outside shot at the playoffs. Like they're gonna have to keep winning. There's gonna be a lot of other things got to happen behind them. So I'm also picking Cincy. So yeah, Cleveland. Myles Garrett, I know he's been banged up, so he might not be 100%. So I'm picking Cincy, and Christine also has Cincy. So should be a interesting one down there in the Battle of Ohio. All right, and next up here, you got the Rams going cross country facing the Jets. Sid, you start this one.
The Jets are currently 3-point underdogs at home. The Rams are inching a couple of wins closer to hopefully clinching the NFC West division title after their struggles to start out the year with injuries and whatnot. The Rams are coming on strong right now. You saw what they did against Buffalo last week in that shootout victory. Matthew Stafford's having a good year, 19 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. The Jets, just like the Bears, they're ready for Bermuda at the end of the year. So I'm going with the Rams.
I'm also picking the Rams too, like you said. So we're kind of they're getting hot at the right time. They're still right within striking distance of the NFC West. Matthew Stafford's still doing his thing. Puka Nakua's doing his thing as well. Kyron Williams was really solid. The defense is getting better every week. So I think the Rams will win this one. I think Christine also agrees about the Rams winning this game. But look, you never know. The Jets might surprise us. Maybe not. I don't know. Now I will be watching this game, but we got coming up in the NFC East instead of the Bears Lions matchup. Eagles and the Commanders.
Good call.
Well, for my sanity, I think, but yeah, better football. But yeah, I mean, look, you've got Jalen Hurts versus Jaden Daniels. That should be a good matchup. And I'm wondering, like, the Commanders, that defense, they really need to work on that. I think they kind of let their foot off the gas last week. The Eagles are getting hot at the right time. It's gonna be interesting to see, like, the Commanders get to a quick start early. They need to in order to get that going here. Yeah, I'm picking the hot team. I'm picking Philadelphia. The defense has been really good. I think they're gonna give Daniels fits, and I think the Commanders will cover, but the Eagles will win.
Philadelphia is currently favored by 3.5 points. I'm going with Philadelphia as well.
Christine also has Phillies. Yeah, we'll see what happens. But look, watch Jalen Daniels threw for like 5 touchdowns or something like that, and they pull off the upset, which could happen. But yeah, I digress. All right, first of the 3:00 games, you got a good one here. I'm gonna try to watch this game on this computer here. You got the Vikings and the Seahawks. Sid, you start this one.
I think Sam Howell may start at quarterback for the Seattle Seahawks. You saw what happened to him last Sunday night, getting smacked down by the Green Bay Packers. We all know what the Vikings did last Monday at home against the Chicago Bears. Minnesota's to play here. They're currently favored by 3. I'm going with the Vikings.
Yeah, I know they're traveling cross country, and after a short, you're talking about Minnesota, but I mean the Seahawks. Yeah, I mean they're a totally different team, and of course Zach Charbonnet might not play either. So yeah, I'm picking Minnesota. Christine also agrees; she's picking Minnesota. So again, Minnesota has a lot to play for still. So we'll see what happens there. Now, okay, Patriots and the Bills. The Bills got to keep winning. They want to keep pace with the Chiefs. So I think the Bills should do just enough to win. I think Josh Allen's going to put up some even more big numbers to cement his stance as MVP. The Patriots aren't very good, so I'm picking Buffalo, and Christine also is picking Buffalo.
Make it 3 for 3 Buffalo. They're favored by 14.
Ooh, boy. Okay, they might. Okay, so yeah, they might. Yeah, I think they might would take the over on that one. We'll see. The toilet bowl here, the 3:25 game. My apologies to those who have to watch this game. You got the Jags and the Raiders. Gosh. Oh Jesus. Oh goodness. I'll say Raiders, just because they're at home. I take the under. All around. Chrissy also has Las Vegas too.
Shout out to our girl Taylor Daw from 1010XL, friend of the show. Her and her crew from their radio show. They're out there in Vegas for the weekend for the game. They're doing their live show as we speak. Check it out on YouTube after you check us out. They're going to have a good time, more probably hanging out instead of watching this game on Sunday. But I'm going with the Raiders here. It's at a pick 'em. They're currently favored by 1.5.
Yeah, so it should be interesting there. Probably, I guess you could say this is probably the game of the week. You got the 49ers and the Dolphins. You got Tyreek Hill. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure when they made the schedule earlier this year, I'm sure they thought it was going to be the game of the week. But I mean, you got Tyreek Hill basically, wanting already having one foot out the door. The 49ers, I know they're not in a good spot right now, but they're still within the striking distance of the NFC West. There's travel country, but they're not playing until 3, so this will actually could help them time wise. Yeah, I'm picking San Francisco. I think San Fran. Look, they got to keep pace, and I think they'll do just enough to win.
Just because they're the home team, I'm going with Miami. They're currently a 1-point favorite, which means it's at a pick 'em.
Yeah. So Vegas has no idea either, and Christine has the 49ers as well. All right, an intriguing Sunday night matchup here. You got the Bucks and the Cowboys. You start this one, Sid.
The Cowboys are currently 4-point underdogs at home. The Buccaneers dominating win at Los Angeles last week against the Chargers. The Cowboys same dominating performance at Carolina last week. The Cowboys are facing a better team. The Buccaneers are on the roll. I'm going with Tampa.
Yeah, the Bucks got to win because they want to keep as far from distance from Atlanta as possible. So I think, like you said, they're facing Cowboys facing a better competition, and I think Baker Mayfield's gonna make mincemeat out of that Cowboys defense. So I'm picking Tampa, and Christine also has Tampa. All right, the Monday night here. This game will be simulcast on ABC and ESPN. You got the Saints and the Packers. I'm gonna keep it short and sweet. I'm picking Green Bay. It's gonna be outside. It's gonna be a little bit warmer, kind of. It's gonna be in the 40s, but yeah, I mean the Saints, they're just, and the Packers know that they got to keep winning. They want to have an outside shot of, they want to. I think they can clinch a playoff spot if they win. So especially if other things happen. So yeah, they need to win this game so they can clinch that playoff spot. I'm picking Green Bay.
I'm going with Green Bay as well. They're currently favored by 14.
And Christine also has the Packers. Now, of course, last but not least, well, depending on how you look at it, the Bears and the Lions. Like I said, the weather shouldn't really be a big issue here. DJ Moore's comments might be. I don't know if you want to say them and take it out of context. Maybe not. But yeah, the Lions. I know they're a little bit banged up. They're kind of down to like their fourth or fifth string linebackers, but I don't trust the Bears, so I'm gonna. I know David Montgomery is out, but Jahmyr Gibbs is still a very solid running back, and I think they'll do just enough to win it. Like I said, it won't be I don't know what's gonna come down to that weirdness that happened on Thanksgiving, but I think Detroit will do just enough to win this game. I think.
I have Detroit as well. They're currently favored by 7 points.
Ooh, 7, that might be a little bit high, but Christine also has Detroit, so. And those are your picks for this week in week 16 of the NFL.
You're listening to Second City Sports Zone Chicago. Sid Lakina here with you on the hashtag Football Friday edition. Let's transition over to basketball, in particular the NBA. Let's start off with the Bulls, Lakina, as they get a big victory last night in B-Town, being the defending champion Boston Celtics 117-108. Patrick Williams had a big performance last night. He's starting to look good in his return. He had 14 points. Zach LaVine led the way with 30-plus points. Kobe White, I told you I didn't like the way he's been playing offensively the last couple of weeks. He had a couple of big buckets last night, especially driving to the basket. Zach LaVine had 36 to lead the way. Ayo Dosunmu had 17 points, including 3 of 6 shooting from downtown. And also the Bulls bench looked strong as well. Julian Phillips hitting that corner 3 gave him a spark. He had 10 points last night. Taylor Horton-Tucker had 9 points last night. Lakina, the Boston Celtics bench, I know Peyton Pritchard has been their guy coming off the bench this year, having some big games, but he did hit a couple 3-point shots. You didn't hear much from that Celtics bench last night. I like the way the Bulls have been playing. I know Josh Giddey is currently injured, which is unfortunate for the Bulls. You have a guy coming off the injury, you have another guy going on, but the way this Bulls team is playing, it's remarkable. I'm not saying they're going to go away and clinch a playoff spot right away. I know Zach LaVine's name's been out there in trade rumors once again, linked to the Warriors and the Denver Nuggets in particular. But the Bulls just keep up playing and somehow racking up these wins. They're currently 2 games under 500, I should say, 13-15 on the year.
Yeah, 35 points they scored in that fourth quarter. And I think Zach had like 14 of those 35 points. So, big the fourth quarter for them. But, I mean, look, I think I was like, huh? They won? Really? So they actually held on because I think the Suns got down to like 6 points. But then, of course, some big shots late from Phillips and Ayo and Zach. But, yeah, it's going to be interesting to see, like, we'll see, because they play again tomorrow here at the UC. And I'm sure – yeah, and I'm sure, and I think Jaylen Brown got ejected too. So I'm sure he's gonna want to kind of redeem himself a little bit against the Bulls as well. So of course Tatum also had 30 and 10. So yeah, a nice win for the Bulls. They're 13 and 15. We'll see if they can keep it up. And everyone's contributing. So that's all you can ask for if you're a Bulls fan.
Yeah, and let's not forget about Nikolai Vucevic. He's been struggling too as of late, but last night, 16 points, 14 rebounds. He actually scored a couple of big buckets inside. He had a couple of mismatches, especially early in the game when Drew Holiday was guarding him in the post. He shot the ball left-handed a couple of times off the square, made the basket. A nice performance from him last night. As you mentioned, the Bulls shot the ball well overall at 44%. They shot the ball at a 36.5% clip from three. And speaking of three-point attempts, Lakina, the Bulls shot 52 three-point attempts. We know that the Celtics are the number one team in the NBA. It makes in attempts at three-point. They were 14 and 56 for 25% from three last night.
And a good matchup there for the Bulls. A nice win for the Bulls. A nice upset win there. Real quick, going through last night's games. You got the Lakers pulled away from Sacramento. Anthony Simons hit a 3-pointer at the buzzer, leading the way for the Blazers. An upset win over the Nuggets. Cat had 32 in his first game back at Minnesota, as the Knicks had no trouble with the T-Wolves. Julius Randle had 24 points, but unfortunately not a lot from on the bench for the T-Wolves.
Right. They definitely got outplayed last night.
Yeah, 3-pointers galore for the Pacers as they upset Phoenix. The Clippers just hammer Dallas. Nolan Powell had 29 points for the Clippers there. San Antonio needed overtime, but they 42 points, which is a career high for Victor Wembanyama as they beat Atlanta. Memphis just hammered Golden State. Santi Aldama, I should say, had 21 points, a career high for him. Houston beats New Orleans. Brooklyn, no trouble with Toronto. Washington held off Charlotte. OKC with a nice bounce back win. We'll get to why in a second over Orlando. And Utah beat Detroit. Now, congratulations to the Milwaukee Bucks. They win the second annual Emirates NBA Cup. Giannis had a triple-double there as they beat OKC. And if you're Giannis was basically like, I think that trophy's going to go over to Giannis' house. He won MVP, but I think the other trophy's going to be over at his house. You're going to have to get it out of there.
And also, too, shout out to now Bucks assistant coach Darvin Ham. This is his second consecutive NBA Cup. Remember, he was the head coach of the Los Angeles Lakers last year, and he received that. The Lakers beat the Pacers. Now this year, the Bucks beat OKC, and that's his second consecutive NBA Cup. Lakina, as we said for these last 2 years, if you're veteran teams like Milwaukee, Philadelphia, or some of these other big teams that have big expectations for an NBA title, you don't give a damn about this NBA Cup. You saw that in a minimalized celebration with Milwaukee the other night. Yes, they're happy they won the game, but it's not what they shoot for when they start the year. We all know why the NBA Cup is there for, so you get folks like you and I interested in talking about it. Now, real quick, the NBA, with this NBA Cup, if you don't have LeBron, Steph, or Kevin Durant in the NBA Cup final, no one's watching. Now, I'm interested to see what the ratings were. We remember last year he had LeBron and the Lakers against Indiana, and those ratings were high. This year, even though you got two small market teams with Milwaukee and OKC, I guarantee you the ratings are not as high.
Yeah, we'll see, because I don't think they've released the ratings just yet. Well, I think Giannis was probably more excited than all of them, because you saw how he was holding that trophy. I know Doc Rivers was like, whatever. But look, they get a nice $500,000. I know Damian already said he's going to give his to charity. So but yeah, some of the younger guys, I think Giannis even said it. So, well, I think Damian even said it too. Some of the younger guys going to get that extra bonus check, if nothing else, so they can play for that. If nothing else. So yeah, but look, congrats to the Bucks. They're the second winner, and I'm sure they'll do this again next year. So go figure with that. Now going to this weekend's games real quick. Tonight's games, I should say. Yes, Charlotte and Philadelphia. The NBA TV game. Well, the Bucks are back in action as they face Cleveland. We'll see if they can get it going here. OKC and Miami at 7:00 tonight.
Tomorrow, your schedule for Saturday looks like this. The Lakers will play a rematch against the Sacramento Kings. Orlando and Miami in the Battle of Florida from Orlando. Memphis visits Atlanta. Utah visits Brooklyn. Cleveland will host Philadelphia. The Celtics and the Bulls will play a back-to-back, this time at the UCS location mentioned earlier. Washington will face Milwaukee. Golden State will visit Minnesota. The New York Knicks will continue their road trip. They'll visit New Orleans to face the Pelicans. And that's the NBA TV game, by the way, at 7:00 tomorrow. The Clippers will face Dallas. Portland will visit San Antonio. And Detroit will start their West Coast road trip. They will play the Phoenix Suns.
Wrapping up the weekend matchups, you got only 3 here. You got Houston and Toronto at 5. You got Indiana and Sacramento at 5. And you got Denver and New Orleans at 6 o'clock on Sunday.
All right, and that's your NBA schedule for this weekend. As you're listening to Second City Sports on Sports Zone Chicago, Sid Lakina here with you on the hashtag Football Friday edition. Lakina, we got a couple minutes left before we break for the top of the hour. The Chicago Blackhawks, they beat the Seattle Kraken last night 3-1 at the UC. Shout out Eddie Olczyk, who's their color commentator. We miss you, Eddie. But the Blackhawks honored Jeremy Roenick last night. He was on their pregame show. You got a chance to watch it via the Rabbit Ears or the satellite package or other avenues. We don't know what we were talking about as far as that but concerned, but I digress. But Jeremy Roenick was on their pregame show. He was on with Daryl Ball, the new TV voice, and Darren Pang last night during the majority of that second period. Of course, Jeremy Roenick has great stories, and I know we're time per minute, so I can't get into it, but the Hawks honored him last night throughout the game. Great job by the whole entire Blackhawks organization. As I said in my tweet late last night, it was actually an enjoyable game to watch. The Hawks came out on fire. They couldn't score to the second period there, but once they got the game going, they played responsibly from the second period on. It was a hard-fought win last night. The Hawks are now 10-9-2 when they scored the first goal this year.
Yeah, Ilya Mikheyev had 2 of those goals. They were both as it says from Tabo, so that was a really cool. That was very cool to see, especially that second goal that he had. Also, Nolan Allen gets his first NHL goal. I saw that. That was a really cool little bit of spin move there, all kind of like a la Kaner. I know Kaner would have loved that, I'm sure. But yeah, won 3 in a row with Andrew Sorensen as now the interim coach. And look, they're playing better. Connor Bedard's been playing better. So, like, I'm not going to say that they're going to come back and vie for a playoff spot in the Western Conference. It's very loaded there, but look, I think this was definitely Sorensen was definitely the different voice that the Hawks really needed, I think.
Yeah, and they're now 4-3 under their new head coach. We'll see if they can keep it going. Stay tuned for more sports and more fun as Second City Sports hashtag Football Friday continues with Dan Miller from the Detroit Lions Radio and Mick Gillespie. You're listening to Sports Zone Chicago.
No, I don't know, though. I'm scared. I mean, you're
Do you know that you're in my lane? No, not at all. Are you not paying attention? Are you texting? I was just checking in with my mom. I was telling her that I thought we'd be home by 6. It's okay. There's enough time. Just pay attention. I'm not even halfway through my text. There's no way. I'm not even going to look up. My babies are in the car. You have to pay attention. It's just supposed to be a quick text. I'm so sorry.
Hi, I'm Tom Brady, the director of DODEA. September is National Suicide Prevention and Awareness Month. The simple act of reaching out and caring for those in our communities is something we all can do. Just being there for someone you care about can be a tremendous first step in getting them access to confidential resources and support that they need. It only takes one person and one small act and 1 minute to make a difference. Let's make a difference.
Move it!
Many will hear the calling. Few will earn the title. United States Marine. The few, the proud, the Marines.
Welcome back to hour number 2 of Second City Sports on the hashtag Football Friday edition. You're live in the living color right here on Sports Zone Chicago, along with Miss Lakeem McGee, which is she. Cindy Brown here, you know that's me. You can follow yours surely on the Twitter, X, and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, it's SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80.
You follow my Keenan McGee on the Twitter, execute again, IG.
This half hour, we're going to break down the Detroit Lions and the Chicago Bears as they get ready to face each other in this key NFC North Division battle on the Lakefront on Sunday. If you have any questions or comments, especially for our next guest, you can hit us up at Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or at Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. Type in those questions or comments in the comment section. Again, we'll get them up on the screen for you.
He is one of our favorites. He's a Fox 2 Detroit sports director. He's also a longtime radio play-by-play guy for the Lions. Let's talk some Lions and Bears with this guy. He's one of our favorites, Mr. Dan Miller. Dan, what's up?
Yeah.
How you doing, guys? Good to see you again. How are you?
We're doing great.
Good. Right back at you. So, incidentally, have the Lions defense, have they asked you to play a linebacker because they're literally down to they're 4th or 5th string guys, and how do you think they'll be able to kind of keep up with this as they go to this playoff push?
It's been kind of like that all year long where they've had injury problems. I mean, you go back to losing Aiden Hutchinson, everybody worried what was going to happen at that point. They've obviously lost a lot of guys since then, and it became significantly more of an issue this past week when they lost to Lee McNeil and Carlton Davis. And, you just saw Khalil Dorsey go down, David Montgomery for an unknown amount of time. So it's kind of been the theme of the season, but I think it's been so focused on the defensive side of the ball where they've lost guys that it's been hard to kind of look at the depth chart and figure out how they're going to make it. And you know what? They've won through all the injuries. They're more significant now than they have been, but Dan Campbell's not going to lower the bar for them. He expects them to go out and compete and have a chance to win on Sunday.
And speaking of the defense, we'll get into the offense in the coaching situation in just a moment. But focusing on the defense, they've been struggling, as you mentioned, Dan, over these last couple of games. Aaron Grant, the defensive coordinator, we know he has a challenge ahead of him. I think this is too soon of a question to ask, but I'll ask it anyway. Given the performance that this Lions defense has displayed these last couple of weeks, does it hurt Aaron Glenn's chances to potentially get a head coaching job this offseason, or is that too early? Is it too early as you just want to wait to see how this plays out?
I think the performance should help his chances of getting a head coaching job. I mean, he lost one of the top 5 defensive players in football and then went on an 11-game winning streak. And they lost to the defensive end they signed during the offseason in Davenport and continued to win. They lost Alex Anzalone and continued to win. They've been losing guys left and right, and Aaron Glenn has held this thing together. I think he's done an amazing job. The last couple of weeks, it's been more difficult, but they've also played the leader for the NFL MVP in when the Bills came to town with Josh Allen, and Green Bay put up some good numbers against him as well. But I think Aaron Glenn has been an incredible leader. I think he has done a great job holding that defense together. They've been a top 5 scoring defense all year long, and we'll see what they do from here. But for a guy who's now missing his top 2 defensive linemen, his top cornerback, and his top 3 of 4 linebackers, I think he's done a heck of a job holding this thing together.
With David Montgomery being out, it's going to be the Jahmyr Gibbs show, I guess, on the backfield for the Lions. Who else do you think can kind of be sort of help get those carries from him?
I think Craig Reynolds will get some carries. The coaching staff likes him. They've always trusted him. He's gotten some playing time for them before, not necessarily much this season, but he's been called on before. They haven't had any carries to give out between Gibbs and Montgomery. And then I think Sione Vaki, a rookie that they got, that we saw some of him in preseason, and he showed some elusiveness and ability. They like him. They trust him. I think he's going to get some run, but the bulk of it is going to be Jahmyr Gibbs. I mean, he's already over 1,000 yards. He's 6th in the NFL in rushing and 3rd in the NFL in yards per carry. So he's going to be the main guy that they try to get the ball in his hands as often as they can.
We're talking with our good friend Dan Miller, the radio voice of the Detroit Lions, right here on Second City Sports on Chicago on the hashtag Football Friday. Sid Lakina hanging out here with you as we preview Lions and Bears coming up this Sunday. Let's go back to the offensive side of the ball, Dan. And Amon St. Brown came as a piece a couple of years ago. It's great to see his progress over the last couple of years, that he's becoming the number one target for the Detroit Lions. Not just that, but he's also one of the top three wide receivers in the NFL. Talk to us about Mr. Amon St. Brown.
Yeah, I mean, obviously a guy that was underdrafted, being taken in the fourth round, that's fueled a lot of his relentless desire to be great, which I think he would have had anyway. But he's just a great player, and he is the guy that Jared Goff looks for when they're in trouble. And if you go back and look at some clutch moments in this season and going back to last year in the playoffs, when they need something, it's Amon-Ra that they look to. And he is just an incredible – he's a leader. He's a leader by example. He's a leader vocally. He is a guy that people in this team kind of play through with the way that he is just talented, but also people watch the way that he conducts himself and handles himself as a professional. And I think that sets the tone for what the expectations are from other people. The way he works, you don't want to be outworked by him or feel like you're not living up to that standard. And I think he's been a great example for Jameson Williams. I think he's been a great example for other guys on this team, in addition to the fact that he's just, incredibly talented and all pro last year. And I anticipate he'll be right in the running to be all pro again this year.
What about Sam Laporta, the tight end? I was a big fan of his, coming out of Iowa, and he's definitely made some inroads there, especially this season. Tell people about Mr. Laporta for folks who don't know too much about him.
Yeah, I mean, terrific player, great weapon. Won't have the numbers that he had last year. I think part of that's due to just being injured at times and not being 100%. But you've started to see him get going the past couple of weeks, over 100 yards last time out. He is just a guy that can make terrific catches, difficult catches, run after the catch, great in the red zone, willing blocker. The Lions just love everything about him. And I think as we move into this season and, with no David Montgomery there and seeing the way that it seems like Laporta is starting to kind of grow a little bit, I think his role will continue to get back to where it was last year, but he is still a huge part of this team.
Yeah, talk to us about Jared Goff. I know we all know that he was traded for Matthew Stafford a couple of years ago. Stafford got his Super Bowl. Jared Goff is still looking for his. But watching interviews with the local media, including with you on Fox 2, it seems like that Jared Goff has really bought into not only the Detroit Lions culture, but to the city of Detroit and his fan base as well. Talk to us about your dealings with him, what kind of effect he has had on not only on the team, but on the franchise.
Yeah, it's been amazing to watch. I mean, obviously when he came here, he had been shoved out of LA and a lot of people thought his career was heading towards, the downside and that he wasn't a viable starter anymore, but he's proven people wrong and he's played great football. He's been one of the best quarterbacks in football. And I think he has regained his confidence. I think he believes in the offensive coordinator. Offensive coordinator believes in him. He trusts all the weapons that he has with his team. He uses them all. They spread the ball around and they're the highest scoring offense in the NFL. And a lot of that is Jared Goff and his ability to conduct it and be patient back there and not force things and eliminate turnovers as best as possible, which he's done for the most part this year, except for the Houston game. So, look, he's been everything they possibly could have hoped for and a lot more. And if you put his stats up against really anybody in this league right now for the past couple of seasons and what this offense has done, Jared holds up well and he's been terrific. And yeah, he's embraced the city and the city's embraced him. And it's been fun to watch him figure things out and grow to love this city. And for a guy that people thought was a throw-in in that trade, to see the way that his career has taken off, it's been awesome.
Really great to see. Now, another guy that the Lions literally just picked up about a month ago is Darius Smith. I mean, with all the injuries going on that front seven, what tell us how you think he's adjusting to now kind of being like the pseudo leader of that defense now.
Yeah, I mean, he's got to be the guy that leads the way. He's the most accomplished pass rusher they have. They've tried to spot him and not use him, for 80% of the snaps or anything like that. And I think they'll continue to do that. But he is the guy that has to impact the quarterback because he's made a career out of doing that. He's got more skills than the other guys around him now with Hutch out, with Aleem out, with Davenport out. So look, they acquired him because they needed an impact player. He's been an impact player for them. Last time out wasn't quite up to the first couple of games that he had in Detroit, but certainly the hope is that as we go down the stretch, this team needs to find a consistent pass rush, that he's going to be the guy that figures that out for them.
We're hanging out with Dan Miller, the radio voice of the Detroit Lions, right here on the Hashtag Football Friday edition of Second City Sports on Chicago. Still looking here with you as we preview Lions and Bears coming up this Sunday on the Late Firm. Dan, let's talk about the game itself. Of course, the Bears are struggling 4-9 this year, no playoffs for them. Caleb Williams, a rookie quarterback, has been struggling behind the bad offensive line all year. You still have a good running back at DeAndre Swift. What will be Detroit defensive coordinator's Aaron Glenn's game plan to defend Caleb on Sunday?
Well, I think job one, stop the run. That's always where they start. They want to try to make them one-dimensional and figure out some way to slow Swift down and not allow them to. Buffalo really ran the ball well against Detroit. The Lions have been excellent against the run for 2 years now, and they need to get back to that and find a way to slow them down. So I think that with that being the case, then you put it back on Caleb, and you got to try to find some way to pressure him. You got to find some way to see if you can get a mistake out of him. He hadn't thrown an interception in 8 games. That's really impressive. He's doing some good things back there, and there's a ton of respect for the weapons they have. In particular, a guy like DJ Moore that they can get the ball to as a running back. They can get it to him on quick hitters. They can get it to him down the field, and he's so good with the football in his hands that they got to find some way to slow him down. So. Look, I think regardless of the Bears' losing streak or what's happened with them, there's a ton of respect for these guys, and they want to see, if they can slow these guys down, get off to a better start than they did against Buffalo, where they had a couple of empty possessions early and fell behind, and see if they can put the Bears back on their heels a little bit. Look, if you let the Bears think this is going to be the day they bust out, that's going to make them feel better. And the way to not do that is to get off to a good start, get the jump on them early, and see if you can, get them doubting where they are again. They're going through a tough time. You don't want to make them think that this is going to be the day that they get out of it.
What about the defense for the Lions? Because I know they're shorthanded. They're literally getting guys off the street, like I said earlier. And I'm thinking that maybe, like you said, you'll make it one-dimensional talking about the Bears, but on the offense side with Mr. Goff, I know he wants to, he did well enough to beat Buffalo, but they just couldn't do it. So how do you think they're gonna try to counteract with the Bears defense? Because Montez Sweat still playing pretty well, but everyone else not so much for the most part. What about Kyler Gordon and yeah.
We know what this offense is capable of. We know what the full respect for the Bears defense. They got a lot of playmakers back there. It's a good unit, but the Lions have, scored for the most part most of this year. The Bears game, they kind of didn't score much in the second half. The Bears got back in it, had a chance to win it or tie it late. And I just think that as you look at the Lions, they got to get back to what they've done against Dallas, against Seattle, against teams like that earlier this year, where they started scoring and didn't stop. And I think the key to a game like this is you want to get the advantage. You want to make Caleb play from behind, which is difficult for any quarterback. And I just think that if your defense is down, then your offense has to lead. And I think that's where the Lions are right now. And it's certainly capable of doing that. They just need to play up to their capabilities.
We're halfway through this interview, and we didn't bring up head coach Dan Campbell yet, so I'll be the quote-unquote bad guy to bring his name up now, being funny, of course. But we all know that Dan is an aggressive coach, and he likes to take chances. Of course, we saw what happened last year in the NFC title game against the 49ers, where he got away with it. Some people would say a couple of weeks ago against Green Bay. Of course, we saw what happened last week against Buffalo to start that fourth quarter to take that onside kick. Do you like him continuing to be this aggressive coach, or do you think he should dial it back a little bit?
No, I think he's going to be aggressive, and I think that's what he does. And they beat Green Bay basically using those fourth downs. So they got 4 out of 5 of them. It's not always going to work, and when it doesn't, it's going to be fodder for critics and people to jump on. But it's funny, people always want to talk about the NFC Championship game, where if they caught a couple of catchable passes, nobody would be talking about that. And people also fail to mention that in the Rams game in the first round of the playoffs, they went for a 4th and goal and threw a touchdown pass to Sam Laporta in a tight game. Might not have won if they hadn't done that. In the Bucs game in round 2 of the playoffs, they had a 4th down. They got a touchdown run from Craig Reynolds. Might not have beaten Tampa Bay if they hadn't done that. So I don't think it's something that you can kind of helicopter in and say, okay, Dan Campbell did this and this. I think you have to look at the whole picture. And it's kind of allowed them to get to the point that they are through some of the successful 4th downs that he's had. Now, it doesn't mean you agree with them all. Doesn't mean all of them are going to work. But I always go back to last season when people want to talk about that NFC Championship game. And sure, that is worthy of conversation. But look at the first 2 playoff games where they went for 1 4th down in each of those games, and they were able to score touchdowns on both those plays.
All right. So speaking of coaching, we'll do both the coordinators. I know Sid mentioned Aaron Glenn earlier, and of course Ben Johnson, the OC. Both guys are getting names being thrown around for other coaching positions, including right here with the Bears, especially with Johnson. I'm sure you're not thinking about that right now, but I know it's too early to even ask this, but I guess I'll do it anyway. Do you think one or both guys stay, or do they both go? What say you at this point?
I think they'll both get interviews, and if they feel like the right situation is there, I wouldn't be surprised if they both went. I mean, people have connected Aaron Glenn to the New Orleans job. He had history there. And Aaron Glenn's been a terrific leader for this team, and I think he'll get an opportunity at some point. Ben Johnson has had opportunities the past couple of years, hasn't gone. I think he's going to wait to find the right situation. And I don't know if that's going to come his way this year. It's got to be a desire on his part and a desire on their part. And same with Aaron Glenn. I mean, look, they both have really good gigs, and I'm sure they are paid well to be where they are. And I'm sure they've made it, worth Ben Johnson's while to stay here. And Dan Campbell's got a lot of regard for Aaron Glenn. So I think both of them will get at least interviews and opportunities. Whether or not it matches up with somebody else's desire remains to be seen. But I wouldn't surprise me if they both got head coaching jobs at the end of the year. I think they're both, outstanding at what they do. And I think they've both proven it over a long term here with defenses that have been highly ranked and offenses that have been highly ranked and respectively for both of them.
We're heading down the home stretch with our guy, Dan Miller, radio voice from the Detroit Lions. He's hanging out here with us right here on Sports Zone Chicago's Second City Sports. Sid Lakina here with you on the hashtag Football Friday. Dan, I think this guy is starting to get some love nationally. I know he's gotten some love locally with you guys, and that's your GM, Brad Holmes. I saw a clip on YouTube last night. It was following the loss to the 49ers in last year's NFC Championship game. He talked about sustained success and with the kind of season that you guys had last year, with the history of that franchise, it comes around every so often. And you go back to being mediocre for the next, I don't know how many years. Talk to us about Mr. Holmes' impact on the Detroit Lions organization as he tries to have this sustained success under Dan Campbell.
Well, I mean, they've done things the right way. You have to draft and develop. Drafting's half the equation, which obviously he's in charge of, and he's drafted a lot of good football players. You can witness that by looking at the second contracts they've given out to guys like Amon-Ra St. Brown and Penei Sewell and guys that Aleem McNeil, guys they've drafted and they want to keep around. And then he's got a coaching staff under Dan Campbell that has developed these players. And for a long time, we didn't do that here. We draft a lot of guys, but didn't develop them, and not many of them got second contracts. So it's a complete picture of building through the draft. They haven't done much in free agency. They haven't done much swinging huge trades or going out and spending big bucks on guys from outside the organization. They've built this thing from within, and I think the foundation is one that is sound and has the chance to have staying power because it's built on a lot of guys that are, age 26 or younger here in Detroit. And I think that was the plan coming in. They've stuck to it. They've been stubborn. They haven't really, been one to dive in and try to make big splashes, but trust what they've got and trust the guys they know, because in particular in football, when you get guys from outside your organization, you're never sure what you're going to get and how they're going to fit into what you do.
All right. So the rest of the NFC North, of course, you got the Packers, in third place, but then you've got the Vikings nipping right there at the Lions' heels. They do play each other in a couple of weeks to finish out the season. That could be for the NFC North, or perhaps maybe the number 1 seed. We'll see. So I know it's a little early, but what do you think of the Lions' chances? Because it's probably going to be back and forth, and both the Lions and the Vikings have tough schedules. Well, after this game, of course, they've got those last couple of weeks. They can't be caught looking ahead. So, what do you think is going to happen in the NFC North?
Yeah, I mean, that's it. Look, it's gonna be tough for both of them. I mean, and going to Chicago is never easy. They got to go to San Francisco after that, and where Minnesota's concerned, they got to go to Seattle, and they have Green Bay coming in. So, we'll see how either one of those teams handles these next 2 weeks before they play each other. Maybe it means something, maybe it doesn't. Philadelphia has a more favorable schedule when it comes to the NFC, and they certainly are going to be more of a favorite to win their 3 games than the Lions and the Vikings will over the last several weeks. So if you're the Lions, you're happy you got that Minnesota game at home. You've beaten them once already this year at their place, so I think you'd go in with some confidence. But sure would be nice if you could get some help from somebody else and help yourself in your games and find a way to have a leg up on them there when you go into that game, because they're already, winning the tiebreaker with Minnesota because they got that win over the Vikings in their back pocket. So we'll see what happens. Both of them have, as you said, tough schedules the rest of the way, and they got to handle that before they even worry about each other.
Okay. Besides being the radio voice for the Detroit Lions, you cover other sports as well, both locally and nationally. And of course, my partner Lakina is very excited tonight because she's a college sports head. And of course, tonight is the start of the college football playoff, the 12-team playoff with Indiana and Notre Dame tonight. Talk to us about will this new format work? How excited or not excited are you about this new college football playoff format starting tonight?
I think it'll be great. I mean, these matchups are intriguing. I think it'll be fun. And, it's a great matchup tonight to see how this thing, watch Notre Dame and Indiana. Indiana's had a terrific season. And I think it's much better to me than just having, 4 teams in it. I think this is going to give us, another couple weeks of football here and more football to watch. And there's always going to be arguments about who's in or who's out. But I think, for the most part, you've got the teams that should be in there, and I think it's going to be intriguing to watch how this thing plays out, home campus games, and then when we get to the semifinals and finals, it's going to take somebody's going to have to run the gauntlet to get through this thing, and I think it'll be really interesting.
Now, Michigan, of course, they're going to be playing in the ReliaQuest Bowl against Alabama. They beat Ohio State again, and all the brouhaha that happened afterwards over at the Horseshoe. How do you think Michigan looked this season? I know people knew they were going to go to the national championship game, odds like they did last year, but I think they did better than I think a lot of people expected. What do you think?
Yeah, I think they kind of mishandled things at the quarterback position. You didn't have a quarterback coming to this season, and that should really never be the case in this day and age of having the portal and being, frankly, Michigan. You should always have somebody that can, handle that spot. They didn't. I think that hurt them. The defense was still pretty good. Obviously, I think it's tough for a defense to hold up when your offense isn't giving you anything, and that was the case for Michigan much of this season. So I got the number 1 recruit in the country coming in next year to play quarterback. We'll see if he's ready to go as a freshman, but I think they feel good about where things are headed right now. I think there was some missed opportunities they had this season. Had they had somebody back there that could have handled that a little bit better.
Last question from me, Dan. Of course, you call the games for the Detroit Lions. You also travel with the team as well. And of course, we all know that NFL fans or whoever team fans of the teams they travel well across the country and across the pond now with the NFL playing games overseas. Talk to us about how many observers or Detroit fans are like that come up to you or your broadcasting partners and say, "Hey, great job, keep it going," or some of the fans of the teams that are not going to the players that want to jump on the Lions bandwagon. Talk to us about the fan support and the people that have been giving you and your organization these last couple of years.
I mean, it's been great, and the electricity that this team, the NFL's king. I mean, it just really is in the world of sports. And when you have a good NFL team, people are excited. It's been electric in the city of Detroit. We hadn't had a home playoff game ever at Ford Field before last year. They had 2 of them, won them both. They were amazing atmospheres. These fans have been waiting for a long time just to have something they could believe in and sink their teeth into, and this has been it. So these fans have been there all along, even when things weren't going well, but it's clearly notched up now with the way things are going, and it's been a blast. We've had so much fun, and not done yet this year. We'll see what happens, but it's been a pretty magical thing to witness the past couple of years, and I think with the way this thing's being built, they're going to be around for a while.
Yeah, I agree. I think they're built that way. Last question from me now. I want to ask you, do you think the Lions can win the Super Bowl? I won't ask you that, but right now, as of December 20th, 2024, do you take KC right now as a potential Super Bowl winner, or the field?
So if I don't say the Lions, what
If
does
you
that
don't
say
say the Lions,
about me? And if I do say the Lions, what does that say about me? So I don't pick games, and I wouldn't go there. Look, I think there's a lot of teams that are capable right now. I certainly think the Lions are one of them. Obviously, Kansas City, you can never count them out. And Philadelphia, I think, looks outstanding as well. But I think you have 5 or 6 teams right now that could get on a run and be the teams that finish this thing off. And I think, we're one of them. We're going to find something out about this team on Sunday as they play without these guys and go into a tough environment and try to win a game. But I still think there's some things that have to sort themselves out in the playoff race and the seedings race and things like that. Buffalo team we saw last year, certainly capable of getting on a run. I think you got any number of teams that could do it. And if you're in Detroit, it's just nice to be in that mix.
The diplomatic answer from Mr. Dan Miller. There you go, folks.
You can't win when you answer questions like that.
He's a constant. But you're a constant pro. That's what we like about you. Of course, that's been Dan Miller, the radio voice of the Detroit Lions, and of course, he's a sports director over at Fox 2 in Detroit. Dan, great job as always. Thank you very much for coming on to our show. Have a safe flight to Chicago on Sunday. And I just want to say personally, like I always do when we have you on, I enjoy watching you guys' TV show, pregame TV show on Sundays with you, Woj, Danny Rogers, TJ Lane, and Jennifer Hammond and the whole crew. You guys do a great job, and you guys going to do a great job as you broadcast live this Sunday from Soldier Field. So thank you very much for coming on. Much continued success. We'll talk again soon.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate you having me, and we always look forward.
All right, thanks a lot. Take care.
Fun. Appreciate it.
All right. Happy holidays, Dan. All right, that was Dan Miller from Fox 2, and of course, the Lions Radio play-by-play guy. So, Sid, we got our older buddy Mick Gillespie on deck. We'll talk Cubs and what happened yesterday with the Cubs. I don't know. We'll talk to him about that. Also, we'll preview the college football playoff with him coming up next. Lakita McGee, Steve Brown, Second City Sports on Sports in Chicago. Cubs and college football talk coming up right after this.
This year, my mom got me the perfect bag for back to school.
These colorful binders help me stay organized.
These headphones are just what I need for studying.
These new sneakers are just what I need for the new year.
This jacket is a real must-have.
My parents got me the skateboard I wanted. It's pretty cool.
These scissors really come in handy in art class.
These colored pencils, too. These new socks, they can be a real lifesaver. I finally got my own phone to stay in touch with my mom.
Trisha's having a sleepover tonight. Can I go?
I wonder about Lucy's friends. What should I say? I know you're only 10, but one of these days a friend will offer you a drink. And alcohol at your age can lead to so many things. None of them good.
So can I go to the sleepover?
Lucy, I want you to promise me
I
something.
finished my homework.
Bigger promise. If there's any drinking, I want you to say, "No thanks, not my thing."
Mom.
I promise you, your real friends won't care. Deal?
Sure.
Really?
I promise, Mom.
They really do hear you.
Did you pack your toothbrush?
For tips on how to start the talk, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov. A public service message from the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration.
Hey, this is Dr. J, and I listen to Sean and Maya in the morning.
Welcome back to the hashtag Football Friday edition of Second City Sports. You're live in living color right here on Sports Zone Chicago. That's Lakina. You can follow us on the Twitter, X, and the IG at CKID. Once again, it's CKID. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80.
You can follow my Kingdom McGee on the Twitter, X, and IG.
This is our last break of the show for today and for the week. So if you have any last minute questions or comments for us, especially for our next guest as we get into the premiere of the college football playoff and talking Cubs baseball, you can hit us up at Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or at Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. Type in those questions or comments in the comment section. Lakina will get them up on the screen for you.
All right, so another one of our favorites, of course, he posts the Cubs podcast on YouTube. He also does college sports as well. He's the one, the only, the fabulous Mr. Mick Gillespie. Welcome back, Mick. How are you?
What's up?
Yay.
What's up? Good to see you.
How are you? Good to see you too.
Hey, Merry Christmas. Happy
right?
Hanukkah. Happy holidays.
Yeah, same to you and your family.
Yeah, same you. All right, we got a lot to talk with you today, Vic. So let's get right to it. Of course, the big news yesterday on the Cubs side of things was Sammy Sosa releasing a statement, basically kind of admitting, but not really admitting what he did. And of course, now it looks like he might be going to the Cubs convention. We'll find that out in the next few weeks. So, what do you think? What's your opinion on what transpired yesterday?
Well, I wasn't surprised. I can remember being at Cubs convention and standing there with Tom Ricketts and just kind of hanging out. And some Cubs fans, this is years ago, asked if Sammy was coming back, and Tom gave him a pretty long explanation that he kind of just wanted an apology, and that's what he got. I don't think that he needed Sammy to grovel, but I think he just wanted to just acknowledge it. And then let's move on from it. We all love Sammy Sosa. I love Sammy Sosa. I wanted Sammy Sosa to come back for years. Mark McGuire's back, and he's, had a great – I've seen him in Cubs gear because of his son, which is crazy, right? And then Barry Bonds is back. But, part of it is just saying, hey, man, I acknowledge that things didn't end the way that we wanted them to when he was a Cub. And then, the steroid stuff. I thought it was a great compromise, and I think everybody's happy. And you know what? Now I got a feeling that Sammy Sosa is going to crash the Cubs convention. It's going to be awesome.
Let's focus in on the moves that a couple moves that the Cubs organization made so far in this offseason, in particular the trade for Kyle Tucker from the Houston Astros. Of course, the Cubs gave up one of their big young minor league stars in Cam Smith. I've been saying this for the last couple of years, as you know, Lakina, that Kyle Tucker is the MVP candidate. I'm a White Sox fan, as you know, Meg. I saw what he did to us in the 2021 playoffs, which was his coming out party. But it looks like it's going, as of right now, it's going to be for a 1-year rental. What do you think about Jed Hoyer, who's on his last deal as a baseball head, making this move? What do you think about that move so far in this offseason?
I like Jed as a person, and I always wish him well. But this is his last shot. I mean, this is it. He was in San Diego, didn't have success, and then he's been with the Cubs, and he hasn't had success. And it feels like there's a sense of urgency there to basically save him and his front office's careers. And I hope he does it. This was a move to me that felt like a Hail Mary, because you're giving up Cam Smith, your first round pick from last year. I've seen Cam Smith play a lot. I can't really tell you. I don't have a feel for him yet. When I saw Javi Baez and Chris Bryant as minor leaguers, I saw it. I could see it right away. Kyle Schwarber, that doesn't mean that Cam Smith isn't going to be a great player. I just, he was 1 year. He was on the same year coming out of college as he was in Double-A. So it's a pretty big jump, but really good kid. And a lot of power potential there. So we'll see if that comes back to bite the Cubs. But the rest of the deal, Isaac Paredes, Hayden Wisniewski. I mean, who cares, right? The only part of this deal was Cam Smith. And if I was Jed Hoyer, I'd make the same deal. Now and the Cubs have the money that they could sign Tucker to a long extension. He's going to be coveted. I mean, his numbers definitely compare with Juan Soto, and you saw what Juan Soto got. So we'll find out. But the Cubs have been stale. The last couple years they've been stale. They have these 83 and 79 records that I don't really feel are. Last year they weren't competitive. The year before that they slipped away at the end. But at the end of the day, there's so many playoff spots that there's no excuse for you not to make the playoffs these days. It's not like it used to be where two teams get in. So I like the deal, and I think that if he comes in and really proves himself, it might be a guy that we see for a long time.
Another trade, though, that's happened earlier this week, Mick, was, of course, Cody Bellinger being sent to the Yankees. His dad, of course, won 2 world championships in '99 and 2000 with them. And it was basically a cash dump. Basically, they got a 30-year-old mid reliever. What do you think about that trade between the Cubs and the Yankees?
Yeah, I didn't really call it a trade. I said it was a sale. And it, that. I thought Bellinger was going to opt out of the contract, and then I think we all realized that there was absolutely no market for him at $27.5 million or more, and no one wanted to give him more money. He's really hard to kind of handicap as far as like what his future is going to look like, because 2 years ago he was really good. Last year he was okay, better than average, right? He was an MVP before, and then he had really bad years with the Dodgers. Last year he dealt with injuries. But he's still a good player. If it was me and I had kind of built this outfield, I probably wouldn't have given Ian Happ a no trade clause, and I probably would have moved him and kept Bellinger. And then, you got Bellinger for 2 years. I think Bellinger's a better player than Happ. I mean, I do like Happ's outfield, that he wins Gold Gloves, but I think Bellinger's even a better outfielder than him, better hitter, just not a switch hitter. But Happ's not going anywhere, and it's fine. Look, he's locked in the left field, but the Cubs have all these guys in the minor leagues that they got to figure out what they're going to do with. And so the way that the roster's configured really confused me, and it still does, right? We got outfielder signs, 2 of them with no trade clauses. One guy that we basically sold to another team was our best player, at least arguably our best player on the on the offensive side of things, or position player wise. And then we still have a log jam in the outfield. Then we got 3 guys in the minor leagues that all are kind of ready to be in the big leagues. Alexander Canario and then Owen Casey being the 2 top. To me, I put Casey ahead of Canario, but Canario is out of options. So you got to figure out what you're going to do with him. And then Kevin Alcantara, who surprised me and got some big league time last year. So that's 3 guys that are all right there, plus the 4 outfielders that you have already. So that's 3 spots and 7, 8 guys. So, I mean, how are you going to do this, right? So there's going to be some more moves made. Bellinger just didn't have a position.
Next question I have for you, Mick, regarding the Cubs' next move in this offseason. Me and Lakina have been saying on our show for the last a few months that the Cubs need an extra starter, perhaps 2 starters, the way that starting pitchers are getting injured these days. Shota Imanaga had a great rookie year last year. Justice still battles some injuries, but when he was healthy, he's one of the top young starting pitchers in baseball. Where do you think the Cubs will go next with a starting pitcher? Dig down deep in the barrel in free agency, or do you think they'll go via the trade route?
All right, so you got, I guess if I slotted it, right, it would be Imanaga, Steele, Tyone, and then Assad, Boyd, and Wicks, right? That's
Mhm.
the 6 that I have right now. Who knows what Ben Brown's going to look like? Who knows what Cade Horton's going to be like after his injury, same as Brown, right? To me, I think the Cubs, if they're serious about being a World Series contender, if I'm Jed trying to save my career, because he's not going to get another chance if he doesn't succeed this year. Period. Not just with the Cubs. Nobody's going to hire him again to be in charge because you had 2 chances and it didn't work out, right? So I'm feeling like a lot of pressure. I'm trading for a starter, like an ace, like a guy to put right at the top of the rotation. If I've got to give up Wicks or Assad or Tyone or whoever, I'm doing it. Maybe even Steele if I got the right pitcher back. But I would love to keep Steele. The problem with Steele to me is his durability. But the rotation, even with these guys in the rotation last year, I thought they were pretty consistent, even though I don't see a lot of star power, but Luzardo with the Marlins name popped up a few times, is that dead or not? He's had injuries, but I'll tell you what, when he's healthy, he's really good. And then Castillo with the Mariners is someone that's, you're hearing teams kind of kicking the tires on. The Mariners have been interested in Nico Horner, according to reports. Maybe you do a Nico Horner and get Seiya Suzuki to approve a trade to go there and you bring him back. But if the Cubs are serious about not just competing, but being a serious contender for the World Series, I think they need an ace. Like I think they need another ace to go at the top of this. And I think with the money that they got back from Bellinger and the chips that they have trade-wise, all those the excess outfielders plus some really good infielders in the minor league system, most notably Matt Shaw, who you're probably going to see compete for third base right now, but that could change. James Triantos, who's been a hit machine. Those 2 kind of are on the doorstep. So they have some chips to play with. I think they need an ace starter, but they also need a closer. So, I mean, there's 2 pretty big needs right there.
Where do you think the Cubs are right now in the NL Central? Of course, the Brewers traded their ace, closer Devin Williams. We'll see where the Cardinals are. At this point, the Pirates maybe. Cincy might make that. Make that next step. So where do you think the Cubs are right now among the favorites in the NL Central?
Yeah, I mean, I still think they need to do work. I think that they could still use some help in the bullpen, not blown away by Rob Zastrisny. I think he's a good guy. They got Poteet from the Yankees and, I don't even know. I mean, that was kind of a throw in to me. I'd like to see him go out, maybe sign Huffman, the reliever from the Phillies that's been so good. I mean, he'd be a great addition. Or go out and get a star closer. And that's hard to do in this day and age, right? I mean, I guess Porter Hodge would be your closer right now, but I still think they need to do work. I love Kyle Tucker coming. And I think right now I feel like they're better than last year. I'm excited about the start of the season, but they need to have, when I can remember watching the Cubs right before they won the World Series. And I remember watching the Cubs and broadcasting both of these teams when they were really good in 2007. And I remember going around the diamond in 2007 and being like, okay, so they got Derek Lee at first. They got, Terrio, they got Fontenot, they got, you just go around and you're like, hey, we got good players at every position. Sori's out and left, and when the Cubs won the World Series, I remember doing the same thing in 2016 and going, man, this team's great, right? I mean, you got Rossi and Willie behind the plate. You got Rizzo, you got Baez, you got Bryant, you got Zobrist. You get in the outfield and you're doing the same thing, and you're like, man, this team's good. Then you look at your starters and you're like, man, we got 5 really good starters and a great bullpen. And that's what it takes to win a World Series. Like, if you go in with a bunch of question marks, those question marks aren't going to be the answers normally that you want. And it feels like the last few years, it's like we've just been hoping and praying that these question marks would turn into stuff that wasn't questions, But baseball is a really tough game. And over the course of time, you get exposed, like if you have a weakness, they figure it out. So I think that I think that the lineup looks good right now, but Dansby Swanson has to start living up to his contract. I think that, to me, is one of the biggest problems that I have with this team is that you're paying him $177 million, which is more money than the three of us will ever even see in 8 lifetimes. And he's like the 8th batter, and he's no good. Like, I mean, I'm glad you can field and run and your leadership and all that stuff. And it's cool that your wife plays on the soccer team. Hit the ball, right? Period. You have to hit. Like, you can't get paid that money and be the 8th batter. You have to be the 3rd batter, right? And on this roster, you're paid not to be the leader and the cheerleader. You're paid to drive in runs. So if he doesn't produce it, when he hits, they win. Have you noticed that? And when he doesn't hit, they don't win. I mean, so much of the success that the team has is based on his play. And it's more than just the salary, but when you pay that much money to one guy, you're taking away from other positions where you could upgrade there. And it's not always about the dollars and cents. I mean, you see some small market teams like Milwaukee, they figure out a way to win without spending a ton of money, but that's not the way our team's set up. You got positions being blocked by guys that are getting paid $177 million and they're not performing, and that's the problem with these big contracts. So yeah, I'd put a lot of pressure on Dansby Swanson. If it was me, I would. If I was the GM, I'd be not happy with him, and it wouldn't be anything personal. But the production isn't good enough. So if he produces, and maybe he was hurt last year, he had surgery, he comes back and has a good year, and plays like the star that he's paid to be, I think that everything else follows there. And when he's playing well, the guys gravitate to him. He's a great leader, but you can't lead when you're hitting like 120 and you're not driving in runs. They don't take you seriously. And that's just the way that sports are. I don't care if it's football, basketball, baseball. If Michael Jordan played like, Steve Kerr, I mean, nobody's, he's not going to be able to walk into the locker room. And I'm not saying Kerr wasn't a good player, but you remember Mike, like, hey, you want to be like Mike? Yeah. You make the play in the big moment. And that's what Dansby's got to do. So I put a lot of this on Dansby, but I do like where this team is directionally now. And then you put Tucker in the mix, and and that gives you a middle of the lineup guy. So what I'm hoping is that Dansby has a bounce back year, and then Tucker stays healthy and does what he's able to do. It's going to make this entire team better.
We hang out with our guy Mick Gillespie of the Cubs Baseball channel on YouTube. He's the host there. Check out his YouTube channel. He's hanging out here with us here on Second City Sports on Sports Zone Chicago on the hashtag Football Friday edition. Sid Lakina here with you. Let's transition over to college football. Of course, Lakina is our college sports guru on this program. She's happy. I know you're happy too, Mick. Tonight is the start of the college football playoff, the inaugural 12-team playoff. Of course, first up is Indiana at Notre Dame tonight. Both teams checking in at 11-1. Notre Dame, they're led by their defense, but their run defense has struggled the last 2 games, giving up 190 yards of rushing in each of the last 2 games. Indiana's had a great year, despite that blip against Ohio State a couple of weeks ago at the Horseshoe. Who has the edge in this matchup tonight?
Well, if Indiana beats Notre Dame, it'll be the first real game that they've won all year. I mean, like they've pounded the cupcakes, but they haven't beaten anybody with a pulse, right? Notre Dame's a pretty good team. Like I think Notre Dame is set up to be able to, they're going to win this game, and I think they're going to roll. Now, I would love to see Indiana go in there and make it a contest. And the funny thing is that they share the same state. This is like the best season that Indiana's had in our lifetime and before that, probably since our grandparents, right? And then Notre Dame, I grew up, obviously I went to Alabama, but I grew up, I'm an Irish Catholic. I grew up pulling for Notre Dame. And I remember all the stories about, the Fighting Irish. And in my days after Lou Holtz, they weren't really that good, but they're good. They play sound football. They've been able to overcome injuries. And I feel like that it has a little extra juice because it's in Indiana, right? And it's Indiana and Notre Dame. I'm definitely curious to see what happens here, but I think Notre Dame's a better team, and I'd be surprised if Indiana won, and they're big underdogs.
What about the other 3 matchups tomorrow? You got SMU and Penn State. SMU gets in after losing to Clemson in the ACC title game. You got Clemson, Texas. That should be a good one down there. at DKR Texas Memorial Stadium in Austin, and Tennessee and Ohio State. Of course, Ohio State, they haven't played since losing to Michigan. So where do you see these three matchups?
Yeah, and SMU kind of has a worse resume than Indiana, and that's the thing that bothers me about this college football playoff is, unlike the NFL, where you play a pretty even schedule. The Bears and the Lions are going to play a very similar schedule. It might differ based on who's home and who's away, but you're playing about the same teams. SMU plays in the weak ACC. They played two teams that were good and they lost to both of them. And then, of course, we put them in the playoff anyway. And that, to me, that game's probably going to be the sleeper of the games. And I don't mean like, oh, it's sleeper good. I mean like we'll be napping when Penn State's just devouring them. But that one's interesting to me just because I guess the way that this thing kind of panned out, why wouldn't SMU just play Texas when they're in the same state, and then you could have had another one of these Indiana Notre Dame matchups. But I look for Penn State to overpower them. And I don't think it's even going to be that much of a game. I mean, they lost to Clemson, and Clemson wasn't even any good either, so both of those teams got in. Clemson's going to Texas, and I think that it's another one. You look at these, like the spreads, it's like an 8-point spread. I think that I wouldn't be surprised if Arch Manning, if Texas struggles on offense, doesn't get to come into the game and lead things. So Quinn Ewers better go out there and get things done. And but Texas's offense is really good, and I'm sure that that Clemson's watching the tape of Georgia beating them twice and thinking, we'll do this and we'll do that. Georgia beat Clemson by like 30 something. Like they're not going to have the same defense. Texas will probably throw the ball all over them, and I think that I got a feeling that's going to be a pretty easy game. And then what was the other one? It was
Tennessee and Ohio
Tennessee
State.
and Ohio State. See, I think this one's going to be really good. A lot of Tennessee fans are buying up tickets, and this is the first time Tennessee's been relevant since 1989, or excuse me, 1998. Let me flip that. When they won the national championship, beating Bobby Bowden in Florida State, and they've gone all the way down, and now they're coming back up again. I think Ohio State's going to win the national championship, so I think they're going to win. But I got a feeling Tennessee's going to go into the shoe and put up a pretty good fight. That's the game that I've got circled going, hey, I like the uniform matchups. I like that, Tennessee's. I like Nico at quarterback at Tennessee. Jabari Small to me is a pound it and beat you in the fourth quarter running back, just continuous carries. Squirrel White has one of my favorite names in college football. But then I look at Ohio State and you go out and, you put $20 million worth of players into your roster. I think Ryan Day's playing for his job right now. So there's a lot of pressure on Day to win, not just to win this, but to run the table. And it's in Ohio at Ohio State. I can't wait to see this. I wouldn't be surprised if Tennessee won, but I think Ohio State will beat them in a very close game.
Another team that you cover here on YouTube, and that's your alma mater, the Alabama Crimson Tide. Nick Saban retired, and he had a new head coach this year, Jalen Monroe, the star quarterback. I don't know if he's going to go into the NFL draft or not, but he and the team struggled a little bit to start the year, but they caught on at the end of the year. What is your outlook for Alabama football for the future? And do you believe that they should have been in this 12-team playoff this year?
Oh, without a doubt, they should have been in. I mean, I use the comparison when I grew up in Baltimore. I had my first couple years of high school, didn't really put a whole lot of time into the whole study thing. And I was in these level 1 classes. I mean, like sign your name on a piece of paper, and then you could just get an A by being quiet. They didn't want you to disrupt class, right? And then by the time I left, I was in level 4 classes, like get you ready for college classes. And I swear some of those classes were harder than the ones I had at Alabama, in college. Mm-hmm. And I compare that, like the SEC is like the level 4, and like the ACC is like level 1. You can't go. You look at these schedules that teams like Alabama play. They're like an NFL schedule. I mean, just don't have any off weeks. Like the bottom teams are even good, and anybody can beat you. So I felt like that the committee got it wrong. I think the solution is we just put everybody in. and let's just have a big tournament, and maybe 32 teams. I don't even care. Put 64 in. I would rather you have a couple teams that don't belong in than have teams like Alabama, Ole Miss, Miami that had great seasons, and South Carolina that are good, that deserve an opportunity to play. And what I can remember, Mike Leach, who was the late coach of Mississippi State. He was a really funny guy. He's really thought-provoking type of dude. And he was talking about football. He's like, every level of football, you have a tournament, right? Mm-hmm. And in the NFL, it's to get to the Super Bowl. College football, to me, the regular season was always the tournament, but it's not like that anymore. The bowl games, I don't know which Alabama players are going to opt out. I think some of them are saying that they're staying in. Michigan's kind of dealing with that too. Nobody wants to play in these bowl games. Marshall's whole team transferred. I don't know if you guys saw that.
Yeah.
So just make it so big that all these bowl games are part of the playoff. It saves the bowls, put everybody in, and let's just go ahead and make this time of year, college football playoff time, instead of just having a couple of games. But Kalen DeBoer came to Alabama after Nick Saban. His personality probably is a lot closer to mine than Nick's. We were always scared to talk to Nick when he would do his press conferences, and but he'd yell at you if he didn't like the question. DeBoer's a nice guy. I've had him on my show on the Bama Tailgate YouTube channel, and he's just a really nice guy, and he's easy to deal with. He's going to have to figure out, though, the biggest problem Alabama had this year is discipline. They won a lot of the big games, but then they lost some games that they're supposed to win. That was something that Saban never had happen. So a lot of that comes down to discipline, being disciplined when you win and being disciplined when you lose, and not, focusing too much on success, focusing on doing things that it takes to be successful, and not, they call it rat poison, not reading your newspaper clippings when things are going well, So, but I'm happy with and I love Alabama. I love that I got a chance to go to school there. I love that I get to cover them, and it's kind of like the Cubs. I mean, it's like the two best, like, the fan bases, right? It's ironically, I've been a Cubs fan since I was a kid, since Harry and Steve watching on WGN. Unlike you, Sydney, I've been a North Sider, man. I remember watching Rhino, and God, prayers go out to Rhino as he cancer. But they're special. Yes. I mean, I'm just telling you, both of them are special in their own ways. And it's crazy how many crossover fans you'll have, people that are Alabama and Cub fans. And then anywhere you go, you run into Alabama or Cub fans.
Last question for me, Mick, and you kind of already answered it for me about it. What do you think about the whole transfer portal? Like you said, I mean, I think Marshall, a lot of their guys opt out. I think Wazoo, I think they had most of their guys, have opted out as well. What do you think of all this, the transfer portal and the timing of all this? What do you think about that?
Well, look, the next time that they do anything in DC unpartisan like will be the first, right? But they're talking about passing a bipartisan bill to save college sports. And I feel like they need to. The Supreme Court opened the doors to this with no guidelines, and then they kind of, everybody just threw their hands up, and they've turned college sports into a free-for-all. And amateur athletics was always special, but at the same time, it got to the point too, and I understand where the players were coming from, where you'd play, you're at Alabama, it's $1 billion business. You're the star. The coach is making $10 million. All of his assistants are millionaires, and they're fining you for having a hamburger that's given to you for free. We had a guy that played for us when I was in school named Tyrone Prothro. He was a great receiver, and he got his leg broke. He was going to be an NFL player, would have been a first or second round pick, he'd have been awesome in the NFL. He was amazing. And he playing Florida, some guy jumped on him the wrong way, broke his leg. And instead of being a multimillionaire, I mean, the guy's working at a bank or like doing high school sports, and and I don't know if he's struggling for money, but he probably is compared to what he should have made. You got to take care of the people. You got to take care of the people that take care of you, and I feel like we got away from that. At Alabama, we got a women's basketball team that hasn't won anything in years. and they're flying around the country and staying at 5-star hotels and, you know, playing in front of empty arenas. And Tyrone's, you know, is a legitimate moneymaker. I mean, legitimately, like nobody came to watch that team lose or win or whatever they're doing with women's basketball. And the same thing goes for Bama baseball too, that, you know, people barely know what's going on. Alabama football is a huge, huge business. And the guys that generate the income need to be paid for that. Now, I don't think they set up NIL to be this, like pay for play, but that's what it's turned into. But someone like Tyrone could have done, you know, you're selling his jersey at the team store, he ought to get compensated for that. You know, if he signs an autograph or they use his image in a video game, he should be compensated for that. If he wants to go to, you know, Perdello's and sign autographs for people, and people will show up and do it, or wherever, McDonald's or whatever business, or, you know, the Cubby Bear, who knows, then he ought to be compensated for that. And they weren't doing that. So what's going on now, there's just no rules. The players are kind of holding the schools hostage right now. And it's kind of sad because it was the other way for so long. So I'm hoping that what I'm hearing is that these Congress and Senate and they'll sign it if they get a deal done, that they'll come up with some way to make this, to have a structure. And it's going to take the politicians to do it. So I hope they do, because if they don't, college sports are going to be, they're going to be lost.
Yeah, so my partner Lakina always says, welcome to college sports in 2024. And this is what we see right now. Last question for me, Mick. Speaking of former NFL head coaches, Bill Belichick, now with the University of North Carolina, Chapel Bill, as some people will call it. Of course, the NFL told him it's not so much a slick way that we don't want you anymore. In this press conference, he said that he's not going to leave. Me personally, I think in about 2 or 3 years, he'll probably leave if the NFL job is open. But what are your thoughts about Bill Belichick going to North Carolina in this new coaching challenge?
I loved it. You know, I mean, I loved it. I think that there's some kids that are going to get an opportunity to play for one of the all-time great coaches. And what happens is, I'll just tell you this. I can remember getting into play-by-play because I loved play-by-play. And then you kind of move up the ladder, and then you deal with executives that have no clue, and it's competitive and cutthroat, and a lot of the joy gets sucked out of the things that you got into it for, because of the politics and and bad people and, you know, and all that. Mm-hmm. And I feel like that's probably how it is in coaching too. You know, you're dealing with you know, players that are prima donnas that don't want to work, owners that you know, you're dealing with that. They don't want to do this or that, you know, media, fans, and all that stuff. And then all of a sudden you turn around and it's like, well, maybe I'll go somewhere and see what it's like at this level. And maybe I'll get back to what I love. And that's just coaching football, drawing up plays, you know, helping change somebody's life. You know, helping, you know, give somebody direction. I'll tell you, like, I do 2 of my shows with former Alabama players that played for Nick Saban. Jay Coker was quarterback in 2015. They beat Clemson for the title. Mike Johnson, Mike and I have done a lot of stuff together over the years. We've been partners a lot. We're really good friends too. And we do a show on both of those are on Cover Crimson YouTube. And listening to those guys talk about Coach Saban, it's always life lessons. You know, it's never like, hey, you know, he told me to like block this way, or he told me to throw this. It's like, I've had a successful life because he's the guy that taught me how to show up for work every day the right way, or you know, how to do things to be consistent, to hold yourself accountable. Right. And you sit there and listen, and you're like, man, I mean, it's pretty cool that you got a championship ring, but it's also really, really awesome to see like Julio Jones, you know him, played in the NFL and all that. He's a great businessman. You know, he's got car dealerships and stuff like that, you know, and I guess like what the goal is that you not only teach somebody how to play football, but you teach them how to be successful in life. And college coaches have that impact. You know, I'm a huge fan of NBA Live, right, with Shaq and Charles Barkley and those guys. I love those two. But I like Charles and Shaq. To me, are awesome. I mean, they're on every commercial. Now Saban's on. It's like the three of those guys are on everything, right? And like Shaq to me is like always doing something funny, like the Shaq-a-roni pizza, or here he is at Subway, or here he's doing this, I think that what Bill Belichick has an opportunity to do now is basically not only teach guys how to play football, and we'll see how successful he is, but also share some life lessons. And it may be more fulfilling than he thinks when he gets started.
All right, that was Mick Gillespie, host of the Cubs broadcast channel on YouTube. Where people can find your broadcast channel, the other great stuff that you do.
Yeah, man, come find me on YouTube at Cubs Baseball Channel. Try to put new content up every day, and sometimes when big things break, I'll go on live. Still building the platform, but it's been fun. We're a season plus into it right now. And, the channel's had great growth. And then if there's any Alabama fans out there, college sport fans, my channel's Bama Tailgate, same thing. It started because I host a statewide Bama football pregame show, and then said, well, I probably should do something every day on there. And then since then, got hired by Cover Crimson to be part of their channel. They're kind of a bigger group, and that's been fun. So those two spots, or really three spots: Cover Crimson, Bama Tailgate, and then of course Cubs Baseball Channel.
All right, Mick, thank you so much for joining us, for taking time out of your busy schedule to join us. Much continued success, and enjoy the college football playoff. And we'll definitely have you back on again in 2025, hopefully before the start of the new Cubs baseball season. We'll see how things end up with the Northsiders. Thank you once again for joining us, and have a great holiday season with you and your family. We'll talk again in 2025.
Yeah, happy Hanukkah, Merry Christmas, everybody. And roll Tide, go Cubs.
Take care.
Thanks, Mick. Happy holidays.
Thank you.
All right, that was Mick Gillespie, of course, from the Cubs baseball YouTube channel. Of course, that's a quick synopsis there with some of the college football coming up. Of course, you've got the staff DNA Curveball. Ohio is leading Jacksonville State right now down in Orlando at Camp Royal Coliseum. Tulane and Florida will face each other in the Gasparilla Bowl, sponsored by Union Home Mortgage. That's going to be at 2:30. That starts about 20 minutes from now. Of course, the first college football playoff game between Indiana and Notre Dame from Notre Dame Stadium. That'll be on ABC and ESPN at 7. Of course, the other three playoff games will be SMU and Penn State over at Happy Valley. That will be on TNT and streaming on Max. Of course, that's part of that new deal between ESPN and Warner Brothers Discovery. Also, Clemson and Texas. That'll be at 3:00 after that game down in Austin. That's also going to be on TNT and streaming on Max. And Tennessee and Ohio State on ABC and ESPN.
And don't forget, on ESPN2 for tonight, the Indiana Notre Dame game on ESPN2 will be the MegaCast, and then tomorrow night's Tennessee Ohio State game, the Pat McAfee broadcast, will be available on ESPN2. I'll definitely be checking that out.
That should be interesting. There, real quick, with the men's college hoops, you got Houston. It's Christian at Texas A&M that's going on right now as we speak. But a good one here, St. John's and Providence. Will be at 7:00 on Fox tonight. Also, too, you got the Battle of Ohio. You got Cincinnati and Dayton. Number 19 Cincinnati against number 22 Dayton. That's going to be in Cincy, 7:30 on ESPNU. That should be a fun one there. Two ranked teams pulled off a couple of upsets earlier this season. And tomorrow you've got wait, hold on, I went too quick there. You got Duke continuing ACC play at Georgia Tech. That's gonna be on ACC Network. Florida hosting North Florida. That's gonna be on SEC Network. You got Marquette and Xavier on Fox. You got UConn and Butler. That's gonna be on Peacock. Real quick here, some of the other games. You got Chicago State, Cal State, Northwest gonna be on ESPN Plus. UCLA and North Carolina. That's going to be the CBS Classic, CBS Sports Classic, I should say. That's going to be on CBS and Paramount Plus. It's going to be over at MSG. And the second game of that CBS Sports doubleheader. Well, first we got DePaul and Northwestern. That should be a good one on Big Ten Network. You got Purdue and Auburn. That's That's going to be in Birmingham. That's going to be on ESPN at 3:30.
And real quick, Lakina, in women's college basketball tomorrow night, Saturday night on Fox at 7 p.m. Chicago time, following the Ravens and Steelers NFL contest, USC versus UConn. Juju Watkins versus Paige Buckets,
Beckers,
as they call her.
Beckers,
Yeah, Beckers, but they call it Paige Buckets in UConn.
Yeah.
I'm definitely be watching that one tomorrow.
Yeah, and that should be a good one. The second game of that CBS Sports doubleheader at 4:30 tomorrow. You got Ohio State and Kentucky, number 4 Kentucky. That's the second game of that doubleheader at MSG. You got Utah and Iowa at 5:00 on BTN. You got number 10 Oregon continuing their Pac-10-12 rivalry. Of course, they're not in the Big Ten. Of course, they face Stanford, who's been now in the ACC. Cal against San Diego State is going to be on the ACC network at 9:30. A little late cap there. Sunday, if I can get it up real quick. Yeah, Illinois State and Cornell, that's at 11 a.m. Morgan State and Iowa State at noon on ESPN, both on ESPN Plus. You got Alabama with a nice big win at North Dakota State, of course. Nice win there after being down. They scored like 50 points after being down like 8 earlier in that contest. Central Arkansas and Oklahoma, they got a big win against Michigan on ESPN. That's going to be on ESPN Plus. Michigan will hope to bounce back from that loss to Oklahoma as they play Purdue Fort Wayne. Kansas against Brown, that's going to be on ESPN. Their first game back after taking finals. All right. Let's see any other games of note here. And Nebraska and Murray State, that should be a good one on ESPN. That's the nightcap there. That's the part of the Diamond Classic in Honolulu. So you got the Diamond Classic coming up. You got some of these also Loyola and Oakland. That's going to be at 4:00 on ESPN. So that's also going to be part of the Diamond Classic over in the Big Island of Hawaii.
All right, a full plate of sports for this weekend, headlined by the college football playoff, the 12-team playoff with Indiana and Notre Dame tonight. As Lakina mentioned, the 3 games will commence tomorrow. I'm ready, Lakina. There's a whole lot of food, not too much, but a whole lot of eyeballs viewing in the earbuds, listening to a whole lot of stuff. So I'm ready.
All right, let's get going here. You follow my Keenan McGee on the Twitter, X, and the IG.
You can follow your Shirley Sidney Brown on the Twitter, X, and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, it's SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. SIDKID80. Be sure to download that Sports Zone Chicago app wherever you get your apps. Please follow Sports Zone Chicago on all social media platforms. Please subscribe to our podcast. We are located at War Media Podcast. That's WARR Media, PODCASTS. We are on all podcast platforms, including the iHeartRadio app. Excuse me. And while you're at it, please give War Media a follow at WARR Media on all social media platforms. And thank you very much in advance for your support.
Like, share, subscribe, and tell your friends.
Be sure to catch Second City Sports live in 11 color every Monday, every Friday from noon to 2 p.m. Central Standard Time, right here on Sports Zone Chicago. One more again, as the kids would say. Be sure to catch Second City Sports live in 11 color every Monday, every Friday from noon to 2 p.m. Central Standard Time, right here on Sports Zone Chicago.
And of course, you want to thank our 2 great guests to wrap up the show with, of course, Dan Miller, the Lions Radio play-by-play guy, and also the Fox 2's sports director there up in Detroit. Always great to have him on. Also to Mr. Mick Gillespie from the Cubs YouTube channel. Also to some other stuff he does over on water at Alabama. We thank both of those for joining us today.
Yes, and we will provide, as always, here on Second City Sports in Sports Zone Chicago.
All right, folks. So if you're wrapping up your Christmas shopping, it's going to be pretty nice after the snow we've had here this week. So enjoy all the great sports going on right now. Be safe. Be good to each other. For Sid, I'm Lakeem. This is Second City Sports on Sports Zone Chicago. We'll see you guys on Monday.
1, 2, 3, Bermuda, holla!